Hey fam, if it's not first thing in the morning, it ain't right. It's 4:21 a.m. and as usual, inspired, like jumped out of bed like a rocket. And I was reflecting on an interaction I had with someone on LinkedIn yesterday. Usually it's me asking the questions, but she turned the tables and she had evidently been kind of perusing and ciphering through my profile, and she asked me, look, why is it that you've done the things that you've done? You're working with entrepreneurs, you're working with small business owners. It's kind of obvious you've dedicated your life towards entrepreneurship. And she asked me my why. And I thought that was so important, right? At the end of the day, it was confirmation of a belief that I've always held, that people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that ultimately your reasons why, the things that motivate and drive you, that's what creates a connection. That's what creates the relationships. That is what allows you to build long term, right? A transaction is a transaction. It's just a couple seconds. It's just a decision. But a relationship is a commitment, right? And people commit to values. They commit to things that resonate with them. They commit to people that they believe have a higher calling of service, in my humble opinion. So, my response to her was simple. It all starts with the fact that early on in my life, my grandmother pretty much instilled in me a belief in service. That part of my responsibility was to find a way to go out and make the world a better place. And that confidence that she instilled in me that, look, despite what circumstances may be covering your life, despite the people around you who may or may not be supportive, family, friends, etc., that is your charge. That is your responsibility. And I held on tight to that, right? And that belief also spurred me to take a deep dive in entrepreneurship. I knew early on I was going to be part of something that was going to be entrepreneurial or engaging or activist like in the community. And that's why I believe entrepreneurship is empowerment, right? I grew up in an oppressed environment, whereas entrepreneurship wasn't prevalent. At least legal entrepreneurship, let's put it that way. And as soon as I began to see the world, as soon as I began to see the way other people lived, I was like, what Malcolm X said is right. Like, just because you're born in the oven, that don't make you a biscuit. Like, African Americans could be living better. We could be doing better, right? If we knew better. And when I began to see the world and I saw once again how other people were getting down, and the importance of having a vibrant small business community became so apparent to me. The bottom line is, the more I traveled, the more affluent the neighborhood, the more agency and control that people had in their neighborhood, the more or the greater likelihood they were going to be successful small business owners in that neighborhood. And it didn't take, it wasn't rocket science, right, to connect the dots. And so my belief is, quite frankly, if you're tired of being first fired and last hired, you desire more control over what transpires underneath your roof at your kitchen table. If you want to have more influence, whether or not there's a liquor store versus a community center on your block, or influence what happens in your community or region, entrepreneurship is an answer. And I would argue, in terms of the AFAM community, it is the answer. These are the things that drive me. These are the things that I'm passionate about. This is why I pop up, out of bed at 4 a.m. in the morning on fire, because I found something that allows me to carry out the mission of serving the community. My passion for learning, being a problem solver, being a student of leadership, introducing myself in spaces uninvited, oftentimes, right? Where there's entrepreneur activity and opportunities to have a greater impact. That's what it's all about, right? These are the things that drive me. This is why I do the majority of things that I do. This is what informs my thinking, and what informs my thinking, of course, informs my actions.